All right, let's jump right into a theory that's pretty mind-bending. It sits right at this wild intersection of ancient scripture, pure mathematics, and some really out there theoretical physics. We're going to explore this idea that a 1400-year-old text isn't just a book of guidance, but maybe, just maybe, it's the literal source code for reality itself. So the whole thing really starts with this one massive question. We think of a sacred text as a guide for how to live our lives, right? But what if it's something more? What if it's the actual operating system for the entire universe? And that's the core idea right there. The theory is called holographic source code cosmology, or HSCC for short. And it basically proposes that our three-dimensional world, everything we see and touch, is a projection, kind of like a hologram. And all the information for that hologram, the 2D blueprint, is supposedly stored within the words and letters of the Arabic Quran. Now, at the very heart of this whole theory is a single number, 237. According to its proponents, this isn't just some random number they pulled out of a hat. Nope. They claim it's the master key, a kind of divine signature that unlocks the entire cosmic code. So, why 237? Well, the argument for why 237 is so important comes down to what the theory calls a triple convergence. The claim is that this exact number pops up from the text in three totally independent and different ways. The idea is that the odds of that being a coincidence are just astronomically low. And check out how they get there. The methods are incredibly diverse. First up, it's a simple word count. The Arabic word for human, insan, and all its related forms apparently show up exactly 237 times. Second, they use abjad, which is this ancient system that gives numerical values to letters. A specific calculation on the isolated letters alif, lam, mim gives you guessed it, 237. And third, and this one is pretty wild, a phonetic count. The distinct elemental sounds, the phonemes, in the famous light verse are counted, and the grand total is once again 237. So you have a word count, a numerological calculation, and a sound analysis all pointing independently to this one number. For supporters of the theory, this isn't a coincidence. It's an intentional, embedded key. Okay, so let's say we accept 237 as the key. How in the world do you get from a number in a book to stars and planets and, well, us? How does a 2D text project a 3D universe? This is where the theory takes a sharp turn into modern physics. The theory really leans on a real, though still pretty speculative, idea in theoretical physics called the holographic principle. Physicists like Gerard 't Hooft and Leonard Susskind actually proposed that our 3D reality could be a projection of information that's stored on some distant 2D surface. This theory just takes it one step further and asks, what if that 2D surface is the Quran? So here's how the proposed process is supposed to work. Think of it like a cosmic assembly line. You start with the source, which is the text itself. You apply the key, our number 237. This combination gets fed into a mechanism, a specific algorithm. And what comes out on the other side is the projection, our universe. And believe it or not, the theory gets super specific about that mechanism. It actually proposes using the SHA-256 cryptographic hash function. Now, that's a real algorithm used in computer security, like for Bitcoin, that acts like a unique digital fingerprint generator. It can take any input, and in this case a verse from the text, and turn it into a one-of-a-kind code. The idea is that this function takes each of the Quran's 6,236 verses, combines it with the key, 237, and then hashes the result to generate a unique XYZ coordinate in 3D space for every single verse. And here's where it gets truly wild. Remember how the word for human, insan, appears 237 times? The theory says this is the ultimate twist. It means the observer, that's us, is explicitly written into the source code. We aren't just living in this projected universe, we are the very part of the code that allows the universe to become self-aware and experience itself. It creates this perfect recursive loop. As you can imagine, a theory this audacious has kicked up a lot of debate. So let's take a look at the arguments both for and against it. On one hand, supporters see these numerical patterns as a kind of divine fingerprint. They argue it's way too precise to be just random chance, and it offers this powerful way to bring together modern science and ancient faith.
But on the other hand, skeptics push back, and they push back hard. They argue that the counts for words and sounds can be flexible. They depend on which specific manuscript you use or which counting rules you apply. They say this is a classic case of confirmation bias, of misreading a book of deep spiritual metaphor as if it were a technical blueprint for physics. But here's what takes this beyond just playing with numbers. The theory makes specific, measurable, and, this is the important part, falsifiable predictions. It says that if this is all true, physicists should be able to detect a tiny, periodic drift in the fine structure constant. That's a fundamental number in physics that basically governs reality. It also predicts a measurable drop in acoustic entropy, in other words, a decrease in randomness, when the Quran is recited at 237 Hz. The sound waves should literally become more orderly. So just when you think you've kind of got your head wrapped around all the codes, the physics, and the predictions, the theory takes one last, really surprising philosophical turn. Its proponents use this incredible metaphor. They say the entire theory, the numbers, the SHA-256 algorithm, all of it, is just a raft. It's a vehicle. It's designed to get you across a river of understanding. But once you actually get to the other shore, you're supposed to leave the raft behind. Its job is done. So what's on the other side of that river? Well, according to the theory, the ultimate reality isn't the code. It isn't the number 237. It's a concept from the text called Rama, or divine mercy. A boundless, uncounted reality that exists before and beyond all the numbers, all the codes, beyond all of creation. The entire holographic system, in the end, isn't the destination. It's just a signpost pointing toward it. Which, of course, leaves us with one final looping question to think about. If our universe really is a text, a divine story being read into existence, and if we ourselves are characters written onto its very pages, then who or what is the reader?